Hey, I'm Dean and this is Legacy Voyage. In Season 1, I'm documenting my journey to earning my first 100K net worth as a full-time college student. Join me as I share some of the lessons I learned along the way.
This past weekend, I went to a conference, like an event type thing, and my diet fell off. I wasn't tracking it. We stayed at a DoubleTree, and if you know anything about DoubleTree, you know they got cookies, and I'm a cookie guy. So I ate a bunch of cookies, didn't really track, kind of fell off the diet. And even when I got back, I just kept on eating random stuff, like a whole bunch of random food, even though I was full. And I thought it would be the same thing over and over again that I just have been doing for so long would be I go on these phases of tracking all my food, making sure everything's good, and then I binge. And after I binge, I just like beat up on myself. And after I beat up on myself, it just goes into a spiraling effect where everything goes downhill. But this time it was different. And I had this moment last night realizing that instead of beating myself up, this time I took it as a learning moment. And there was a key difference in the way I talk to myself. There was a key difference in my self-talk. And I first heard about this in a podcast with a guy named Trevor Cashy. And Trevor Cashy, he's like a doctor genius who got his PhD when he was super little. He was super young. And he's really close friends with Alex Hormozy. So that was the first reason I started diving into his stuff. But I was listening to a podcast by him, and they were talking back and forth about health and nutrition and all that stuff. And one of the things he mentioned was how it's unproductive to tell yourself that you should do something. And I never heard that before. But he was saying that it's unproductive to say you should or you have to or you ought to or you must. Because what's implied when you say those things is, or else what? I should do this thing or else fill in the blank. I should go out and exercise or else I'm a lazy good for nothing. I should not eat this cookie or else I'm going to stuff my face and eat as many as I can. And it kind of opened my eyes because that's exactly what I've been doing my entire journey. If you go listen back to some of my first podcasts, especially the ones where I open up about eating, about my nutrition, I keep saying in those, I should do this, I should do that, I shouldn't do this. And I keep repeating those over and over to myself. But what I didn't realize was how that affected my self-talk. Because after I kept telling myself I should do this, and then I didn't do that thing, then it would end up with me throwing the baby out with the bathwater, is a saying. I would throw the whole thing out, just completely throw my diet out the window because I went a little overboard, because I had this one little cookie. And he called it shoulding or musturbating, where you keep telling yourself I should, or you keep telling yourself you must, and then it ends up in this negative self-talk where you're always talking bad about yourself, spirals out of control. So the thing I realized last night, I was brushing my teeth, I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was like, wow, this is different. Because instead of beating myself up this time, it was a hopeful approach to looking forward. And the way to avoid those shoulds, those musts, is by rephrasing it into want. Instead of I should not eat this thing, I shifted it into I don't want to eat this thing because I don't want to feel bloated 24/7, because I have these goals that I want to achieve, because health is my number one priority, all those things. So that's the big lesson, is to turn those shoulds, turn those musts into wants. And it definitely takes practice, because even now I sometimes catch myself saying should, and I actively try to rephrase those into. And then the other big lesson is I'm human. I have all the same urges. I have all the same desires. And sometimes I don't do the absolute most best thing. And I think that's important, just to humanize myself through these podcasts, through recording my journey, because I'm not a robot. I just found the secret to becoming a Power Ranger. Last weekend, I went to an event. It was a conference. And at the event, I chose to wear a suit. And when I put on the suit, I had like a sense of respect whenever I was talking to people. Like whenever they came and talked to me, they just seemed more respectful and more receptive of what I had to say. Just because of my suit. And I felt like a Power Ranger because I was like, Mighty, it's morphin time. And then I'll put it on and then I would go out, make a whole bunch of new connections. And then as soon as I take it off, I'm like with a white shirt and shorts. And then I go off in slides and then I'm just like a normal dude. But when it's morphin time and I put it on, it's like, boom, time to go and kill. And that's the big epiphany that I had. Last night I got a new suit, got a new whole piece. And the epiphany is dress to kill. So now whenever I'll go out to like conferences or meetings or any of those things and I put on a suit, I'm like, I'm gonna go out there dressed to kill. And it's like put on the Power Ranger suit that I'm out there killing it. That's the epiphany. Walking around my old high school campus, it really takes me back, man. So many memories. But the one thing I am thinking about is how grateful I am that I came to a school like this. Even though I wasn't like super cool, popular kid or any of that, this school is what opened up so many doors and opportunities, especially the Caddy Academy and getting the scholarship and going to Northwestern. This school is the reason why I ended up here where I am today. And for that, I am eternally grateful. And the epiphany that I want to share is something I heard from the Andrew Huberman podcast. And he had a guest speaker on talking about mental health. He was like an expert in mental health. And he said there's two really big factors when it comes to your mental health, two huge ones that if you can get these two things right, and number one is agency, realizing that you are your own person and you have control over your own actions. That's the first one. Really big, really important is recognizing that you are an agent and you have freedom to choose what you want to do, what you can control, all of those things. That's the first really big one. And the second really big one is gratitude. 'Cause gratitude it's such a rewarding, amazing state to be in. Like, if you really think about it, there's kids back on the islands, back in Tonga, who have nothing. They're literally dirt poor, but they're still grateful for what they do have. I think that's one of the coolest things. So that's why I wanted to talk about this. Kind of came to my mind walking around school and really thinking about gratitude, man. So I'm so grateful that I came to school like this. I record these episodes completely free to share success with everyone. So the only thing I ask is that if you learned anything or found something interesting in this episode, just leave a review and share it with a friend. Only takes 5 seconds and it would mean the world. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next episode. Tatok, see you.